Okay, so this is Joshua Nelson, and this is my presentation on the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. And so, what I'm going to be talking about in this presentation is the symbolism of how the perspective of someone can change based on your relationship with them. So, what I mean by this is that everyone has different relationships with people, whether it's with your mom, your dad, your sister, your best friend, or your boss. So, your relationship with your boss is not going to be the same as your relationship with your best friend. Like you might not like your boss as much. You might kind of resent them a little bit. Whereas your relationship with your best friend, you like them a lot. You enjoy hanging out with them, spending time with them, stuff like that. So during part one, looking at the relationship within the family, um, here's some of the quotes I have. There was a cautious knock at the door near his head. Gregor, someone called. It was his mother. It's a quarter to seven. Didn't you want to go somewhere? That gentle voice. So this was at the beginning of the story where he was getting late for work and they just expect him to go to work every day and they kind of take advantage of him for that. But the thing to look at is that they at least cared about him enough to ask him if everything's all right. Like the second one. Gregor, at the other side of the door, his sister came plaintively. Gregor, aren't you well? Do you need anything? Like they actually at least care um, a little bit because he's a hard worker and even the father goes to the door and sees if everything is normal. Um, they're at least a little bit concerned with him, like I said before, because of how life normally is within their realm. Like he goes to work every day, he's never taken off in however many years. I think it was like 5 years, I think. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, they at least care a little bit about him, and that continues to change based on their perspective of him and when he changes into that insect. Um, it continues to change. So here in part two, it we have a quote. If Gregor had only been able to speak to his sister and thank her for all that she had to do for him, it would have been easier for him to bear it. But as it was caused him pain, his sister naturally tried as far as possible to pretend there was nothing burdensome about it, and the longer it went on, of course, the better she was able to do so. But as time went on by, Gregor was able was also able to see through it all so much better. So throughout these parts, you can see how he knows that his relationship with his sister and family is changing, and there's just not much he can do about it. He knows that she doesn't enjoy doing this, but she also doesn't say anything about it because that's still her brother, and she cares about him at least a little bit. Um, and the dynamic has changed uh because the relationship has changed. So they kind of are correlated. So it Gregor and his sister go from she looks at him as a brother, and now she's starting to look at him almost like a patient, like because she has to feed him, look after him, stuff like that. And then in part three, this is the final change in perspective based on the changed relationship between the family. So here are some quotes. Father, mother, said his sister, hitting the table with her hand as introduction. We can't carry on like this. Maybe you can't see it, but I can. I don't want to call this monster my brother. All I can say is we have to try and get rid of it. We could have done all that's humanly possible to look after it and be patient. I don't think anyone could accuse us of doing anything wrong. And also, it's got to go, shouted his sister. That's the only way, father. You've got to get rid of the idea that that's Gregor. We've only harmed ourselves by believing it for so long. How can that be Gregor? If it were Gregor, he would have seen long ago that it's not possible for human beings to live with an animal like that, and that he would have gone of his own free will. So we can see these are two from his sister, but we can just see how much the perspective has changed just because of the relationship. So at the beginning, at the beginning, they're tolerant of it, and they're trying to help, but as time goes on, his sister gets annoyed. She can't deal with it. She's calling her brother an it, and she fully believes that he's not in there anymore. So, like I said, the relationship has taken the final change. Uh, this like I said, the sister cared about him, but now she's saying that the insect is not her brother and calling him a monster, stuff like that, and even convincing the parents to believe the same thing, and that she wants them to believe that Gregor is gone and that they don't need to take care of him anymore. And eventually they do believe that. They leave the house, or they leave the flat, for the first time together in months, symbolizing, the change that happened. So instead of them having to take care of him anymore, they're letting go of that and looking forward to their future without him. And these are the sources I had. It's just the website with the story on it. Thank you for listening.